My name is Kelly Corrin. I'm 32 years old. I'm a drama and English teacher at a high school. The city where I live is a small town atmosphere with a lot of automotive industry. I had always wanted to travel to Europe, but I'd never really taken the opportunity. I had heard of some small islands off the coast of Canada called St.Pierre and Miquelon. It's part of Europe, France. I wanted a little taste of Europe without actually having to go to Europe. So before going, I decided to try and practice my French. Bonjour. Bon. But I don't think I had a very appreciative audience.
Acceptez-vous le chèque? Acceptez-vous le chèque?
I'm afraid to fly. I've traveled before, but I've never flown such a long distance. So this time, I thought, I'll bring some alcohol just to soothe that problem and to make the person sitting next to me a whole lot more comfortable. Although many people in North America believe the islands are part of Canada, they are an integral part of the French Republic. St.Pierre and Miquelon are fishing communities, and the people who live there are descendants of the Basque people from France. I got a real maritime sense from the island. There's a real rusticness about it, somewhat of an old world ambiance. The woman I stayed with was Jean Helene. She was very friendly when she greeted me at the door. She was very hospitable, asking me if I needed anything. When I first saw the town, I first noticed color. The bright colors of the buildings and the homes caught my eye. I'm very much one that likes visuals, and it's a visually appealing island. It just seemed to be such a busy place. Everyone had somewhere to go, but yet it was so small. And it seems everyone knows everyone. I met my guide, Anne Catherine, who took me around the town to show me the historical sites.
I'm Kelly. Are you ready for the guided tour this afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Thanks.
So, Kelly, we're going to start the tour here on Place du Général de Gaulle, which is the main square in St.Pierre. Local population came originally from the Basque country, Brittany and Normandy.
Okay, what's a Basque? What is Basque?
Well, Basque is not a real country, but there are three provinces which are in France and four provinces, which are in Spain. And so the Basque country have their own culture, which is really specific.
Would you consider Basque a subculture of the island?
It's a real culture, really, from the Basque country. So here in St.Pierre, we're French with influences of the Basque culture.
Okay, so the cultures are kind of meshed together?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is there something more we can see?
I'd like to show you an interesting historical building that was built during the Prohibition time.
Great.
St.Pierre was well known during Prohibition. Alcohol was not allowed in the United States and also in Canada, but St.Pierre could do the liquor trade. This building right here is very important. During that time, it was a selling agency specialized in alcoholic beverages, which were exported towards the States and Canada.
Okay, so what active role did St.Pierre have in Prohibition?
Well, St.Pierre imported about 3 million alcohol cases every year during that time, and alcohol was then smuggled into the States and Canada. So that was a great time for us because there was a lot of activity and there was job for everyone here.
Besides Prohibition, fishing was the main industry. But due to overfishing, a moratorium or a cease fishing decree was imposed.
After the moratorium, we had quotas. We couldn't fish as much cod as we did before that. So the fish plant closed. We had to set our fishing boats, and there was a big crisis because of those quotas. So people here who were fishermen had to diversify the activity, and they started to fish snow crabs, sharks, tuna also, which is exported to Japan.
Just as we were walking down the street, we came upon some boys and they were playing a Basque game.
Think they'll let me try?
Well, just ask them. I'm sure they will.
Garçon, can I try?
I used my great
Okay.
French to get his
Try.
attention,
Give me your racket.
and my great manners to get his racket. The object of the game was to hit a ball against the wall. It was similar to squash.
Ready?
It seemed simple enough, but for the life of me, I couldn't grasp this game.
Ready?
I played with a boy half my age,
Dig it from
and
the
I
front.
couldn't keep up with them. I couldn't play it. All you have to do is hit this little rubber ball against the wall with this wooden paddle, and I just couldn't hack it.
This is it now. This is serious.
It was awful. Here I was playing against this kid, and he was better than I was. I think even the people watching thought I was totally useless.
You can get that.
So I gave up. I came upon some gentlemen playing a game that looked a little bit easier.
Hey, bonjour.
As usual, I used my brilliant French to see if I could get into the game.
Moi, ici?
To me, it was similar to croquet back
The other
home.
game was much too fast for me.
They had these lead balls, and you're supposed to stand in the circle and with your partner hit closest to this little wooden ball that they threw down first, and whoever's closest wins. So I decided to take manners into my own hands. When they weren't looking, I kind of drew my own circle and moved up. In a way, I guess I cheated.
Can you make your own circle wherever you want it to go?
Yeah.
Really?
No, you have to stay in
You
in
said
the same
yes.
one. You have to stay in the same one.
No, you just strictly said yes.
So I guess I had enough of Basque games. And Catherine told me that an important part of visiting St.Pierre Island was to visit Ile-aux-Marins, which is Sailor's Island. We took the ferry to get there, and we got off at a little dock. At one point, there were over 100 people living on the island, but now there was no one.
Fishermen here had many troubles because there were different wars between France and England, and each time the colonies suffered because of those wars. And St.Pierre and Miquelon became English several times, and the first time was in 1713.
Really? It became English several
Yes,
times?
St.Pierre became St. Peter. St.Pierre and Miquelon were given back to the French to be used as a shelter for fishermen.
But now that the fishing industry died out, many people left the island. What I learned was there's such a lack of fish in this community. The fishing industry's dwindled. These people keep their heads above water constantly, trying to rejuvenate themselves. What I realized was they had a profession they could no longer practice. Some of them used their faith to keep going. The day we were at Ile-aux-Marins, there was a pilgrimage at the church. The pilgrimage was a time for the villagers to go down to the church and to also lead a procession down to the statue of Mary, which was located on the coast, in order to pay homage to her. At the pilgrimage, I celebrated my faith among the villagers of the community. There was an eerie, comforting presence, almost as if people from the past who had lived on the island were also celebrating in the ceremony with us. It was an exhilarating feeling, just celebrating your faith amidst the waves of the ocean and the wind. And it was beautiful to know that no matter what tongue I spoke, we all agreed and we all could communicate in the same tongue. We all understood faith and what that meant. It felt like God was there. Just as the sun was setting, I had to take the ferry back to St.Pierre. The next day, I'd visit the island of Miquelon. On the next day of my trip to the French island of St.Pierre, I decided to visit the island of Miquelon. I had to take an hour-ride ferry boat, and it gave me a lot of time to take in the varied landscape. There are many different islands on the way to Miquelon. This ferry went approximately 40 kilometers an hour, and when I tried to walk from one point to another, I found at times I was actually airborne.
Okay, I'm Kelly.
I popped in to see the captain. I'm always so curious who's driving these massive vessels. And he actually showed me all his equipment, and he even let me drive the boat at one point.
Can I drive the ship right here?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going at 40 knots.
I arranged to tour the island, and my tour guide was Roger. He was a naturalist. He lived alone on the island with his elderly father.
We're going to the extreme northern part of St.Pierre and Miquelon Islands. This is a very small territory. Miquelon and Langlade is a mere 200 square kilometers.
At one point we had to stop because there were wild horses in the middle of the road.
How many horses do you think approximately are on the island now?
Oh, it's over 100 for sure, 150, possibly more. They're free most of the year, but they're still fairly tame, you know. Sometimes you can approach them very easily. Sometimes you cannot,
Yes.
depending on their mood, I guess.
Right. And does anyone own these horses?
Yes, most of them are owned by somebody, yes.
Whereas other people may not notice these things. I would be talking to Roger, and all of a sudden he would pull out these binoculars and notice this bird in the foreground.
So Roger, what are all these birds here? What are these?
These are terns.
There they go.
2 species of terns nesting here in this area.
What are they screaming for?
Well, this is a very noisy group of birds. They are always noisy like that. And when you come in and they're gone, you know, it's a strange silence.
Okay.
Roger had compassion for every animal, even an injured one.
That's a young tern that appeared to be, I don't know if it's injured or not. I don't know what happened. It doesn't seem to be injured, though.
Roger had a little old car, and the roads were awful. He was taking me to see some seals, but he didn't tell me we had to climb over rocks to get there.
There's a lot of dead sea urchins here, eh?
It was typical of Roger to leave that little detail out.
Can you see them?
So you scare them? You can't just walk up?
2 species, probably. Harbor seal and gray seal.
I see.
He looks fairly ugly compared to the harbor. The harbor seal stays here the year round.
Are they a problem catching all the fish, or?
If the seals are a problem now, it's because we have fished much too much for years and years, even centuries.
Is it possible I'm hearing them?
Yes, oh yes, they're arguing about who is going to get the best rock to sit down on.
We do that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think going to see the seals was worth this?
Yes, it's not a big problem.
Because it's not like you can walk to the nearest gas station.
No, well, I never do.
I should hope not.
Except to get some gas.
Yeah.
But not for my tires, I do that myself.
We'll be okay for the rest of the trip?
I guess so.
This is gorgeous. Where are we sitting right now? What is this?
We're somewhere on the isthmus between Miquelon and Langlade.
And what is an isthmus?
It's a peace land that is fairly recent in history, in geological history. There were formerly 2 islands and became connected after the glaciation.
You are so lucky to live in a place like this, from what I've seen. It's so varied, it's so beautiful here, it's so diverse. The weather, too, changes. We've had rain today, we had sun and rain. It didn't even rain here, it's bone dry.
But sometimes we say we can have the 4 seasons in one day.
You sure did today. So Roger, you must feel isolated living on such a small island like this.
Isolated?
Yeah.
Why should we be isolated? This is just normal life for us. We've always been here. Really, you know, I feel isolated when I do not see any water or if I don't see the sea. I've been visiting France once, and I was in a place where there was not even a lake. I was lost.
Yeah.
More than here.
So you're comforted here. You'd feel like a fish out of water if you were not surrounded by the water that you are.
Yes, not that I don't like to see other places, but this is home, no doubt about it.
You know, I could live here. Maybe I could live with you.
This is another question.
I learned a lot from Roger about the land, and now I wanted to learn about the sea. As I was walking along the shore, I noticed a boat was pulling in. I could see that they had caught something, so I went over to them. I was surprised to find out they had caught some sharks. And I asked the one sailor, could you estimate in dollars how much these men have made for their day's catch?
The big size to large size is 1.5, something like that, for a kilo.
So this meant they fished all day and barely made any money. One thing I noticed in the dumpster were fins, and the captain informed me that these were from the blue shark and that they cut off their fins and they discard the rest of the shark and they sell it to Japan for aphrodisiacs. It was upsetting to me to learn they were destroying these sharks for such a questionable cause. It's so tragic. That's sad. Fishing was a job I would never want, but I felt it was important to experience it myself. You can't visit St.Pierre without meeting a fisherman. I went out with Andre. In order to fish, we had to go out before dawn. He was a superb fisherman. He would put his line in, and seconds later, he would just be pulling in these massive quantities of fish and shaking them off the line.
Poor fish.
He was fishing for mackerel. Mackerel was very plentiful around the island.
So I gotta put on my protective gear so that when I take off the mackerel, I don't say holy mackerel because I picked myself.
Okay, little.
Ready?
That's what thing. Too small, right? What is the plant?
Le plan, yeah. This is good. Here I go. Here goes nothing. Ooh. I've got a catch. In the water, they look so massive. Okay. Holy, holy! Calm down. Wait, I'll let you off. I know it's gonna hurt for a minute. Just don't.
You speak fish?
Okay, watch out. That's a big one I caught. Count of 3. Yeah, there you go. Don't you try and tell me, mackerel.
The only problem with the boat was that it had no washroom.
You're a little too motivated.
And he was fishing for 5 hours. And I really had to go to the washroom bad. So in order to distract myself, I decided to sing some familiar
Go to
tunes.
the washroom. I have to go to the washroom. Va bien. Bon voyage.
The one thing that really bugged me about Andre is that he would drink a beer and then throw it overboard. I tried to show him I didn't agree, but he wasn't exactly listening to me. When we got back to shore, Andre gave me a lift. I thought Andre couldn't speak English, but when he referred to some policemen we drove by as goddamn Frenchmen, I knew he could speak perfectly clear English. I was told that there was an accordionist that played around the corner, and to my amazement, he was actually playing outside of his home practicing.
Beautiful. Can I try?
So he handed me this somewhat of a large piano, as I referred to it, and I placed it on my lap, and it sounded like something was dying. I couldn't play for the life of me.
Just give me a minute here. Just give me a second. Well, I'm never going to make the music awards.
The town of St.Pierre is so small, I even managed to make the news. I was on television, I was on radio.
St.Pierre, super!
I was a media sensation.
Oh, yeah.
On my last day on the French island of St.Pierre, I decided to take a Zodiac trip. I had to wear this sexy-looking outfit. I felt like the first woman on the moon, or a Power Ranger.
Kelly?
Sometimes it got really fast and the waves would blast us in the face. The captain of the Zodiac was Emmanuel. He was very knowledgeable about the wildlife. We saw so many species of birds that were sitting on the rocks along the island.
Hey, Emmanuel, those are some interesting birds over there on the island. What are they?
Oh, it's a black cormorant.
I've heard something about the Chinese use these birds to fish.
Yes, I
They
know
use
that.
these birds
yes.
to fish, okay?
Put a rod on the neck, I think.
Yeah, because the fish is kept in their neck. They put a rope around their neck, and then they tighten the rope off the
exactly.
bird, and the bird spits out the fish.
Exactly.
That's a
Not
complicated.
here.
I think a fishing rod works better.
We are just in the north of St.Pierre Island, and the name is Pointe à Henri, and it's an archaeological place, very, very old.
There were also folding and faulting in these rocks. You could see the definite lines where this had occurred. These rocks were millions of years old. We came upon one very fascinating geological formation that was an opening, a hole right in a huge rock like a cave. And we actually drove right through it.
Wow, are those seals over there?
Yes, a harbor seal. We have also grey seals.
How do you know the difference?
Difference, grey seals is very big.
What do they eat?
Generally, they eat cod.
Cod?
Cod,
Oh
yeah.
no, that doesn't make it easy for the fishermen, huh?
Yeah.
And do they live here year round, or?
Harbor seal, yeah. We have about 1,000 harbor seal around the archipelago.
Wow.
It was exhilarating being so close to wildlife because coming from the city, you don't have the chance to experience these type of things. Before heading home, I spent some time thinking and I came to some conclusions. Even though the people from St.Pierre cannot fish any longer, they taught me that no matter what, you're going to continue to do what you love to do and not let anyone or anything stop you. The people of St.Pierre taught me that no matter how harsh the odds may seem, with a lot of faith and determination and the will to go on, you can do anything. The thing I had to realize about myself was I had to face my fears. I think I did that successfully, but then again, I could still use some improvement.